Hello, my name is Farhad Javidi. On behalf of Persian Awards, I'm in conversation with Shadan today. Hello, Shadan.
Hi, Dr. Javidi. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Shadan is your stage name or your real name?
Shadan is my real name.
Real name. What's your last name, Shadan?
Mirabedi.
Mirabadi. Is that your adopted name?
No, that's my maiden name. That's my family name.
So you're born in Persian family?
My father is Iranian and my mother is Dutch.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Your mother is Dutch and you were born in United States or?
No, I was born in the Netherlands.
So in Netherlands?
Yeah, so my parents met in London, actually in Cambridge. And then eventually my mother moved from the Netherlands to Iran and she lived there for 5 years before the revolution. My sister was born in Tehran, and then when the revolution began, they moved to Holland, and I was born in the Netherlands, and eventually we made our way to California.
Wow. Okay. that's such adventure there. So your dad was studying in London when he met your mom?
He was actually studying in Cambridge, yes.
In Cambridge?
Yes.
Right. And this was before revolution, you said?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And what did he study?
Mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering. That's so cool. And then they met, and all the story that you said. So, you're married now, right?
I am, yes.
To a British, Dutch, or Persian? It should be one of these three if I don't make mistake.
To an Iranian American.
Oh, yes. Wow. That's so cool. And you have kids, right?
We do. We have 2 boys. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what do you do, Shadan? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so I'm a mom. I've, after college, I worked in corporate America and various different, first I worked in education, then I worked in design. And, when you're in your 20s, I guess you're kind of exploring. And then eventually I settled in sustainability. So I worked in the environmental field. Uh-huh. And always on the side, I did dance. Dance was always something, it was a passion of mine. And then when I started my family and I had my boys, I stopped working full time and I pursued more of my dance and I started teaching, and I've now been teaching for about 9 years and performing for many more than that. And yeah, that's what I do.
So we're gonna get to the dance part a little bit. I'm still stuck to the beginning of our conversation. My mind is still going, So you were born in Holland.
Yes.
Which city?
In Hilversum.
And could you tell us a little bit about that city or the background from there? How many years you were there? Your early.
Oh, I was only there when I was a baby. We left Holland when I was very young. So
are you still going back? Or are you still in contact with families?
Definitely. Yes. So my older sister, actually, her first language was Dutch. She was 4 years old when we came, and all of my mom's side of the family is in the Netherlands. So I'm in regular contact with them. We have WhatsApp groups, and anytime I go to Iran, I go through Holland. So I go and visit with all my family, all my cousins.
Do you speak Dutch?
I speak a little bit of Dutch. My second language actually is Spanish. And
your second language is Spanish. It had nothing to do with Persian or Dutch. How did you choose Spanish? Because you live in California?
So I minored in Spanish. I studied Spanish for many years, starting in middle school through college. I lived in Spain for a while, and so it was always, I minored in it and I studied it.
So that was part of your 20s as you were doing self-identity, just looking for your own identity. So why did you go to live in Spain?
I was studying there, and then I worked there a little bit. And living in California, Spanish is so useful.
Sure, yeah.
I use it all the time. Now, both of our boys are in Spanish immersion programs. They've went to Spanish preschools. Now they're in Spanish immersion programs in elementary school, and it's just very useful. I really feel that language is a gift. And when they were babies, I started reading books to them in Spanish. It's just such a useful
Of course, you are more exposed in California, but even we here in North Carolina, I mean, Spanish is like your second language, you know, just you have so many people around you who speak that. And I mean, so many opportunities if you know you could speak Spanish, right?
Yes.
So you know a little Dutch or not at all?
I know a little bit of Dutch. It's mainly my favorite foods and some nursery rhymes and some songs.
Why, but Farsi, do you know any Farsi?
I do. I studied Farsi. I have had many different classes and teachers and private tutors. And then I took my boys to Farsi classes.
So when you say you take Farsi classes, is it at a school or those are private classes that you are taking?
So they were mainly private classes. In college, I went to UC Davis and I was on the board of the Iranian Student Cultural and Aesthetic Organization. It's a very long name. We called it ISCAO. And that's where I got into dancing. And one of the subcommittees that I was on, we were petitioning to bring Farsi classes to the campus. So we had, there was a Farsi teacher in Berkeley, at UC Berkeley. And so eventually we had her coming to our campus as well to teach us. Before we had that set up, I was traveling to Berkeley on the weekends to study Farsi. And then she came to our campus. And so I started there. And then after that, you know, all in my 20s, I had different private tutors. But it's been quite a while. So my Farsi is not.
So how far did you learn in Farsi?
I got to, when I was in Tehran, on one of my trips, I went to Dekhoda and I got to Kelas Dovam. But you know, it's a lot like about Golgole Khosh Avaz and
cultural differences
for regular conversation. So yeah.
You know, my dad, of course, first of all, let me ask you this. Is your husband speaking to the kids in Farsi?
That is a big thing. The idea was I would speak to them in Spanish. I would promote the Spanish. He would speak to them in Farsi. Unfortunately, he's mainly speaking English to them, and so all of
I'm the same way. See, my wife is blaming me all the time. The reason our kids didn't learn Farsi is all because of you. You should be doing that. Of course, she has learned Farsi. My wife, I mean, she's Canadian, and she has learned Farsi. But I say, you speak Farsi. Why do you want me to speak Farsi? Why don't you do that? I say, because I want to practice my English. I don't speak in Farsi whenever I could, but I mean, with my children. I mean, because really, I mean, as kids grow, you know, and they learn all those rhymes and all those, early words they learn. This is the best opportunity for me to practice my English. Why do I want to Farsi? But my daughter, actually, when she went to university, she decided, no, she wants to learn Farsi. So she started taking classes at university level. So she calls me and she says, Dad, guess what we are learning today? I said, what are you learning? She said, about Garmi and Sardi. You know, the food, you know, Garmi and Sardi food. You know? I say, why are they teaching you this? He said, oh, my teacher is really good. And she says, you not only are learning Farsi, you need to learn culture as well. You know what?
Absolutely. It's so true. You know, I'm glad that we're not the only couple that's arguing about not speaking Farsi with the kids, because I really feel that language is a window into the culture, and a lot of being able to maintain these cultural, you know, whether it's celebrating Nowruz or talking about Shab Yalda, a lot of these things are connected to culture and what you would find in Farsi class. So I always am really pushing them, like, why aren't you speaking Farsi with our kids? You know, it's really, I mean, my own personal experience, whenever I go back to Iran, and I have a hard time communicating with my own family members. Usually somebody has to translate for me. And that is, you know, it's not ideal. It's really, that's why I really think that language is a gift. And the younger that we can start with them, the better.
It is true. I really think I have failed on that with my own children, and I blame myself. But the good thing is they are picking up themselves, you know, and that's what I did. When I was growing up, my parents were Azeri, and I never learned Azeri, you know, Turkish. And I decided to do that when I was a teenager, and I did it all on my own. And I believe I'm decent on that, you know. I could understand, I could sing the songs, you know, and I wish my children do the same. I always told them, you know, I'm a poet, I write poetry in Farsi, and I said, learn as much as you could learn, at least to read my poetry. You know, I don't care if you could do Rumi or Hafiz, you know, but at least learn to read your own father's, you know, poetry. And it is really cool. So it was very interesting. Getting back to you, you were saying that you learned, you actually got motivated to go to dance when you took Persian classes.
When I started doing Persian dance when I went to college.
Oh, that's how you started. So what was the motivation? Like, because somebody was offering a dance, or you saw it, or you liked it. How did you get motivated in that?
So when I went to college, I had a bit of a identity crisis. I sort of didn't know where I fitted in, and you know, and my dorm, it was a music, arts, and crafts dorm, and it was very segregated by either religion or,
Oh,
you know, that there was like, we had Jewish people hanging out, there was a Asian population, they would speak Cantonese in the bathroom, and then, you know, then there was like the inner city guys, and I didn't, you know, I remember coming home and asking a lot of questions, like why weren't we raised with a, you know, a very specific religion, or where, who, I kind of just started asking a lot of questions about, you know, me and as an immigrant, and where did I fit in?
mm-hmm.
And within, I think, a month or two of being in school, I came across this ISKAO, the Iranian Student Culture and Aesthetic Organization, and they were just very friendly, and they just brought me in within a month. Within weeks, I was a board member. Next thing I knew, I was on the board for the next 4 years. Then I was dancing, and every cultural, I mean, we, for Jashin Sadeh, for Nowruz, for Mehregan, we would put on shows, and I would dance in all of them. We would be out in costume.
What you are going too fast on that. Like, I mean,
Sorry.
going to know, no, I'm saying going to, for me, it's so exciting to know, like, because I mean, I had a band when I was at a school in Florida, right? And we formed a international dance group, and we called it actually Middle Eastern Dance Society. So we got, you know, anybody who was interested to dance, but we had to bring trainers to train them. Were you trained at that time, or you were just watching the others how they dance, and or some people were coming and showing the moves, how to do the moves, and you learned? How did you start?
We had teachers. We definitely had teachers. There was a couple. There was, I think, three of them, and two of them were on the board with me, and another one is my good friend Sheila. She has a Persian dance company in Boston.
Oh,
She
so
had been
they were
trained in Iran.
professional dancers.
Yeah, she had been trained in Iran. She had
Oh,
danced in
okay.
Iran before
It was
coming
not
here.
just that they learned it by themselves. Now they want to teach the others.
No, it was a kind of a group effort between Sheila and Shadan. She was also one. Shadan and Razia now have a dance company here in California called Beshkan Dance Academy, and so there were definitely, we had our teachers that would, they would choreograph the dances. We would learn them. We had costumes, and I remember one time I took a trip to Iran, and I brought back all kinds of fabric I had brought back with me, and so we would have the costumes made, and so that was how I learned.
So how did you get a mate here? So did you have some Persians that who know how to make those costumes, or how did you do that?
We had seamstresses.
Oh, okay.
We would have the seamstress, you know, give all the fabric, show the design, and they would make the costumes.
That's so cool, so nice. Because some people go and actually buy clothes, but then they come and trim it to fit them, because like Kurdish clothes or Doris clothes, right? That's so cool. So when you started dancing, so how did you continue on dance? Because I understand that, as you said later, you started performing. So it should be a point that you really try to be a professional dancer, not just amateur dancing, you know, for hobby, and you wanted to actually do it for a living, correct?
So it didn't quite go like that for me. For me, after I graduated, so I danced all through college, and then I graduated, and at the beginning, so I started working. I was working full time, and I would go down to San Jose, and I would perform a little bit with Beshkan. Like I said, my friends Razi and Shadan had started a dance company there, and
the dance company called Beshkan. That's
yes,
what
it's called Beshkan Dance Academy. Yeah, and then, but that was down in San Jose, and I lived up in the East Bay. It's about at least an hour drive, so it wasn't very convenient. And then I was taking a flamenco class just for fun outside of work. And one day somebody came into my flamenco class and said, we're having auditions for this group. It's called Ballet Afsane, and we do dances of the Silk Road, and here's a flyer. And so all of us that were in the flamenco class looked, and I said, oh, I've done a little bit of Persian dance, maybe I'll try. So I auditioned just kind of for fun. I didn't know where it would go. And I made it, and then I joined Ballet Afsane. And so in Ballet Afsane, we performed, it's a reputable, beautiful dance company. And Charlene Sawyer founded it, and we did dances of the Silk Road. So in addition to dances from Iran, we also did Afghan dances, Uzbek dances, and Tajik dances. And we performed at some very, very fun venues. And yeah, that was a really fun time. So that was kind of my next step. That was how I went from sort of dancing for fun, dancing in college, to being more a part of a established company.
Have you had professional trainers during this time? Like whom did you work with? Under which professional?
So at Ballet Afsane, then I was training with Charlene Sawyer. And then in the years since then, I've continued my dance education. I've studied a lot with Miriam Peretz. She's probably been my main teacher. I've also done a certification course with Sharsad Khorsandi. I have taken so many workshops along the way.
Are they all reside in United States? All these trainers?
Yes, they do live here. I've studied a little bit, like for example, one time I went to one of Miriam's. I've been to a couple of Miriam's retreats. Actually, we just had one in Hawaii.
Correct. Yeah, she just had one in Hawaii. I heard.
Yeah, and so, but she had one in Italy that I went to years ago, and I think it was 2013. And so, I was able to, be in Europe with her. There have been other teachers that have been brought from abroad. I went to one of Sheila, my friend that's in Boston. She hosts for a while. She was hosting an annual international Iranian dance conference. The first one was at the San Francisco Ballet, and she brought in Robert D. Warren, and he was teaching us with one of his students. And then a couple years later, she had one in the Los Angeles Ballet, and we were learning from Namus. Namus was part of the state ensemble of Azerbaijan, and so that was a really interesting experience. I had never learned from someone of his kind of generation, and from someone that was like him, and he brought in a lot of experience from his experience in the state ensemble, as well as costumes that we got to see and lecture about it. It was very interesting.
That's so interesting. And do you have? I'm sure you have lots of fun stories to talk about, and we're going to have you in other programs. We have so many other gatherings we would like to invite you to, like round tables, or what is that, or professional gatherings. We would like actually to bring some of your trainers in, and some of your fellow students who have worked under that trainer, to kind of celebrate their life as well, and their accomplishments. But it is so interesting what you say. In Iran, there's really good dancers. I'm talking about professional dancers, female and male. But unfortunately, when females don't have that much opportunity, because when they have any kind of performance, only women could go and see them. When I heard that, it was just blowing my mind. No wonder I have not seen any professional dancers in Iran dancing even on YouTube and stuff, because they say, that it is not, they don't want to jeopardize their career, to put those videos out. And I think there is no even recording of those dances. But this is what my understanding is. My understanding is professional dancers like you, who have been involved in Persian dance, they could actually, now they go to Iran and, perform. Have you heard of these opportunities? Have you been approached?
So I haven't been approached. I know that I have two of my colleagues, friends, that they have gone to Iran, that are also dancers, dance teachers, both of them, and performers. And they have taught workshops, lessons, they've taught classes in Tehran. One is Helia Bande,
Mm-hmm.
She's a wonderful dancer and a lovely friend. And the other one is Sharsad Khorsandi. She also led some workshops in Iran as well. And so, I haven't actually been able to go back to Iran since my kids were born.
Because I heard even that they have training classes, as you said, in Iran. Some of these amazing dancers in Iran, but they didn't know they could actually do Zoom training class, because I hear that some of your trainers, like Mariam, has Zoom classes online. This way, wherever you are, you don't have to be locally in the same place. You said they have retreat that you could, of course, go to one place, but in a normal week, they do Zoom classes, right? They do online classes that you could still practice with them, connect with them, and learn some of the new choreographies, right?
Yes, I teach on Zoom myself.
And you do?
I do. Yes, I teach weekly classes on Zoom, and I have a couple students also from Iran that join. So I have one is Shiva. She's an Ardabil. She logs in. It's which is so much fun.
My parents, are from Namin, which is very near Ardabil. Just close to Ardabil,
yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
So wow.
Yeah, and actually, it's so interesting to me. Shiva and I have developed a friendship outside of class. We've done a collaboration. She's a dancer as well, and we've just recently worked on a new piece that we'll be performing together. And I took a video. We learned it together. We choreographed it together. I did my part. I took a video of it. She is recording her part, and then we're going to put them next to each other to post on social media. And we've been able to connect on Zoom outside of class, which has been such an interesting and unexpected, this cultural exchange. We're learning all about where each other lives. She's telling me all about how, she and her family speak Turkish, and that it's a little bit different Turkish than Turkey. And I share about my life here. It's really amazing how Zoom has brought.
And this is, when we talk about Zoom, there are, of course, other platforms like Skype, like Google Meeting, and all those. I mean, Microsoft Teams, Citrix, WebEx. There are so many platforms, but they all, technology, and I have seen how fast they grew during pandemic, because that was only communication tool available for people when they couldn't go out. And it is just amazing how it brings all these cultures together. And think about, now you have training classes. You could go professionals in Iran that they don't know these technologies and they are not taking advantage of it. Our hope is in Persian Awards, we could bring you all together, that you could have, I don't know, kind of like a partnership, provide this training to people who have been dying for, it's very hard to, I don't know how easily we could find a local teacher in Charlotte. Like if my daughter or my son wanted to dance, if it is any opportunity that they could learn Persian dance locally here, but now they could take classes with you, right?
Right. I have a student actually in North Carolina and another one in Chicago. That's the amazing thing about Zoom. I've had students in Brazil. I've had students in Europe, and that's the thing, is that people can take classes anywhere. That's the beauty of Zoom and doing things online. And you're right. I never taught online until the pandemic began. I was always in the studio in person, and I think being in having everything shut down, we had to get creative and find other ways to teach, and so it all went online very quickly, and that's it's
Shadan, what makes Persian dance different than the other dances? I'm sure because you have been dancing in, I'm sure, in different styles, different cultures as well. Have you tried? This is my own curiosity. From Netherlands side, from Holland, is there any? Have you tried to kind of discover what kind of dance moves they have there, and mixing them with Persian dance? So I am asking so many questions. One is, what is the difference between Persian dance and the other dances that you have discovered? And then how could you bring them all together? Have you tried to do that?
That's a good question. I think Persian dance it's very expressive. It's and you know, first of all, we have to break down Persian dance a little bit. There are different types of dance when you look at sort of the overall umbrella of Persian dance. There's classical dance, or what some call neoclassical dance, which is what we learn, which has really become highly popularized here in the West. And many can say that Anthony Shea sort of started it in the 1980s in Los Angeles. So this classical dance is sort of, it tends to be very much performed by women. It's usually choreographed, and then it's performed on stages. That's this classical, you know, classical styles where you see a lot of the really delicate, soft, feminine hand movements. And this classical form is what is very popular right now in the West. Some say that it is most closely tied to having roots in Azari dance. Some say that it's not, you know, some I've heard disagree and say, well, this has been developed more as a westernized style, and we actually don't have this in Iran as much. So that's one very popular style, and that is what a lot of my students want to learn. That is a lot of what I teach and what I choreograph. And it's what a lot of people want to see performed as well. Then you have social dance, which is, you know, what you see in social settings, parties, gatherings, weddings, which is much more like ghairi, and usually two people are interacting with each other. There's a lot of shoulder shaking, a lot of hips. It's more of an interaction and a social. You have a lot. It's, you know, you use contemporary pop music. These movements are different than the kind of highly stylized formal art form of the classical dance. And then you also have the regional folk dances, which are based on the different regions of Iran. You know, you have, for example, Bandari in the south. You have Kosochok, which has a lot of kind of the Russian influence. You see a lot of red and white, and it's you know, you go down on your knees and you're kicking. Exactly. It's, you know, it's a very acrobatic. You have Mirabadi from the Gilan region. So it depends on, you know, which style you're talking about. Sorry, I forgot the other.
So when you do choreography, right, do you mix them, or they have to be separate?
Oh yes, about mixing. So I tend to stick with one style when I'm performing and when I'm choreographing. There is some overlap. For example, there is some overlap between, okay, let's take the example of Bandari. This Bandari is a more of a tribal kind of folk dance from the southern region. It comes from the Gulf region. And, you know, you have a lot of African influences because people would travel up over the Persian Gulf because of trade and bring a lot of these very shaky, very, you know, a lot of drum beats, and it's very upbeat. A lot of these movements, you see that also in kind of party dancing or social dancing, especially here in the West, that people will start pulling out these bandari moves in the middle of a party, and, you know, it kind of gets the beat going, it gets the vibe up, and everybody is up dancing, having fun. You also sometimes see a little bit of a few movements of the classical form. I've seen some crossover into the social dancing as well. So there is a little bit of crossover. There's a little bit of overlap, I should say. But when I'm choreographing, I really try to, for example, I'll choose a song. I'll say, okay, this is a classical song. I'm going to do a classical piece to it, you know, more of like an instrumental song. And I have this vision in my mind, okay, I'm going to use classical movements for this. And I stick with that style. Or if I say, okay, this is definitely going to be my gilaki dance. This is my Mirabadi dance. We bring in the baskets, we do the rice dance, and that is the style that I stick with. Same with Bandari. So I try to keep it more, maybe I'm just traditional or classic. I try to keep within one genre, one style. That said, I think there is some really beautiful work that has come together when you fuse different forms together. So one example I have is I did a couple pieces that had brought a little bit of flamenco movements into Iranian classical pieces, and you have sort of it's a different style of holding your it's a flamenco and Iranian dance are very different. They have a very different feeling. Persian dance, okay, so one example, Persian dance is a lot about expressing, and the movement comes from inside your body outward. So it's a lot of showing and offering and soft. Whereas flamenco, I'm not an expert in flamenco, but just the classes that I've taken are, it originates with the gypsies. So it's much more this is a hard life, and it's a lot of from inside. It's a kind of, you have a much more serious face. It's not this, oh, hi, I'm smiling and it's all soft and let me offer you some shirini and some fruit. And, no, it's very much inside, and you bring your hands in. And so the movements are not going out, they're coming into your body. And so it can be really fun to play with these different, these nuances of the dances and fuse them together to create some really beautiful work.
So like in Indian dance, all the movements of the hands have a meaning, like they do different kind of moves. Is in Persian dance, do the movements of the hand, like the way that they are formed, have meaning?
So I know in Indian dance, it's a lot about storytelling. In Persian dance, actually, Sharzad Khorsandi has written a book. She came up with a nomenclature.
Really?
She did. Yes, she has basically put names to a lot of the movements that you often see within this kind of neoclassical, classical Persian style. And so, for example, Abshar is one. This waterfall movement, or she's put different words with the movements. I have always thought of the hand movements of Persian dance to be more about expression and expressing specifically, when I look at a very classical piece, because Iranian, more the classical or the older song, not even older, just a lot of songs are using some poetry for their lyrics. So I see the movements as an expression of the poetry. So you're expressing the feeling that the poetry and the lyrics are about. And so the movements that I do, what comes to me naturally is an expression of the feeling of the music of the song.
So my question is, from someone who doesn't dance, and doesn't know much about dance, and when I see you as an expert, I could see that, some creativity possibility here, right? Could you be creative and start a new move or new hand gesture, or even mix from Indian culture, adopt something and say, hey, when they do their hands like this, has some meaning. Maybe in Farsi we could do the same thing, or in Persian we could do. Are you allowed to do that, or are you getting so much kickback from community and the culture that, oh, no, we're not do that, we stick with the framework, right? We don't bring any new creativity or anything. Which way is happening?
That's a very interesting question. I don't know that there is a solid answer one way or the other. I think there's a gray area there, and I think it is up to each person to decide what they want to do. There's certainly room for plenty of expression and creativity, because, like I said, a lot of this sort of classical, neoclassical style has been developed in the West, and those of us that are performing and teaching it have this sort of artistic license to develop it and to continue spreading it, and it grows, and we share it with everyone, and everybody, and we enjoy it. So there is that kind of creative license that you have to develop your new movements, develop your own ways of expression using some of the vocabulary of the traditional Persian dance movement. That said, there's also a lot of opinions, and I think that's kind of part of our Iranian culture, right? That there's always a lot of...
in any culture,
Absolutely.
that they are, when it comes to experts, and they have studied this for many, many years, it's very hard for them to accept somebody new comes, especially new generation with new thinking, and they just want to mix things and they want to bring new things to the field. It always, there is some feedback from...
Absolutely. Yes. And so, and I think, depending on where you're performing and what kind of an audience you have, there is, some people will see a piece and say, oh, that's a great Bandari piece, or, oh, this is a beautiful classical piece, but I prefer more ghairi, more the social dance. It's Miriam and I sometimes joke about there's kind of like the moral police, or not moral police, the culture police that
Culture police, yes. We have a
culture
lot of
police,
them in
and we're
poetry.
scared to. I remember years ago, Miriam and I were talking about. So Miriam's company is called Nava Dance Company, and I used to be a part of it. I loved performing with them, and we would talk about kind of. She has her own signature that she blends different styles of dance. They all come together, and she creates her own Nava style. And I would say, is this an Uzbek movement? Is this Persian? And we would just talk about kind of breaking up different movements. And she'd say, well, I'm really scared to name anything because of the culture police.
I know.
I don't want to tell you one thing.
Some people even get offended. No, this,
Exactly.
especially certain name when it comes, you know what I mean? I was actually going to say some of the, what I'm going to tell you my experience, when we were students, in the college years ago, we had these events. And we found out actually we went to some Caribbean organization dances, the organization events, and they were dancing. And we noticed that their dances are so similar to our Bandari dance. And we were amazed at how Caribbean is this side of the world and, Bandari. But when you go through the roots, you find out where they are, and how, I'm sure experts could do better study. But then we made an event called From Karun to Caribbean. Karun is the river in south of Iran, and we say from Karun to Caribbean. And we were showing the subtle differences between these dances. Like when we go like that, they go like, actually they come from back. We go from forward, they go from back. You have seen how they do the bar dance. They go back, on the bar dance. Anyway, so it was very interesting. I think there is so much room for cultures come together and learn from each other and create new things, new words. Like you said, you have your background. Your mom is Dutch. Your husband is Persian. Your dad was Persian, right? And I'm sure if you go through their roots, you find even more. My parents from Azerbaijan, but their parents have come from Russia. You know what I mean? And my wife is Canadian. My children were born in America. And when they decide to describe their roots, we are global citizens. And what kind of like make us special is the cultures that we are carrying. Right. Yeah. And with those cultures, if we really let them flourish and learn from each other, instead of getting defensive or saying that, no, I'm different than this is different than this. I don't know. We could, you believe that with dance, we could make a better world, right?
Absolutely. And, I think what you're describing, this event that you had, that you bring together the Caribbean style and showing the similarities and the differences with Bandari, that's beautiful. And I think these are the kinds of cultural celebrations, the way that it can bring us together. These are the things that we need to be doing more of in terms of, showcasing cultures, explaining cultures. There's an education around cultures. I think this is what it's all about. A part of the reason that I perform and teach Persian dance, it's a passion. I love the music and I love the movements, but there's also this element of wanting to share the culture, and wanting to share it with others. A lot of the events that I do are, the audiences are non-Iranian, and people are interested. People want to know. And I think, coming out of a time where there wasn't the most positive light on Iranians, I think it's just a really good opportunity.
From outside, from the media. But it's a beautiful culture. We call each other John. And say Shadan, John, Farhad, John, it is so cool, the way we are together. As I said, I have had an opportunity to actually see how our culture is received from outsiders, because my wife is Canadian, the same as you two are, being from different background. And I have seen how much my wife loves our culture. And when she sees that the way that we are so hospitable and we are bringing each other together, we come together, especially around food or dance. As you said, as soon as music starts. I had an opportunity to watch actually one of Mariam's programs, that it was the time that Humayun Shajarian, Muhammad Shajarian died. And she was so sad. She was saying that how much Shajarian changed her life, her way of dancing, that music. She said, when I discovered Shajarian, so many things changed in me. You know what I mean? And this is so beautiful when you see people who discover this culture and they come and learn. And I mean that not just about Persian culture. I have always enjoyed, but you said your second language is Spanish. I learned so much from Spanish culture. I mean, I have so many good Spanish friends, Chinese friends, Japanese friends. You know, we have so many friends from all over the world, and every day we learn from each other. I have a question for you.
Yes.
You said you learn Persian, right?
Well,
what is the most common Persian? Because I was talking about my wife, you know, doing that, because I know one of her mistakes she usually makes. What are your common mistakes that you make in the language? I tell you mine. At the very beginning, I always made mistake with chicken and kitchen. You know, and it was so funny. When I got my first professional job, I went to work, you know, I came home and they said, I don't understand. I thought I'm a director of information technology, but first day I go to work, they give me chicken duty. And my wife says, chicken duty? What is chicken duty? They want me to clean the kitchen. And I said, oh, kitchen duty. I was always making mistake, you know, between. Do you have any mistakes like that?
Oh, too many to admit. Yes, I have plenty of mistakes in my
Like
Farsi.
what?
The one that's coming to mind is sharab and jurab.
Oh, you mix.
I mix sharab and jurab. I used to mix sharab and jurab a lot. I was talking to my cousin in Iran, and we were talking about, you know, California, and I was talking about the wineries, and I was trying to explain the sharab, and I was talking, but I kept saying,
You go and test so many jurabs.
Jurab sefid, and we have jurab qermez, and she was looking at me like, what are you talking about? And yeah, so
and we go and test different jurabs. You know, you know, and jurab is socks, right? And sharab is wine. So the difference is very funny for Persians who hear you. That's so. My wife actually speaks Persian, and her mistake that usually she makes is between yakhchal and ashkhal. Yakhchal and ashkhal. And it's so funny. One day I came home and my mom said, come here, come here. I said, what? And she was staying with us for a while. And then she said, I made really good korma sabzi, but your wife put it in trash can, in trash. I said, what do you mean, my wife? I mean, she was speaking, of course, in Farsi. Said, I'm korma sabzi khub درست کرده بودم خانمت گذاشت تو آشغال.
That's so funny.
You wouldn't do that. Why should she do that? I called Christine. I said, Christine, come here. What's going on? Why did you put my, where is my mom's korma sabzi? She said, oh, is in the refrigerator. Of course, she's saying in English. And I said, really? Why does my mom think, you know, that is not in refrigerator? She said, no, I told her I put it in ashghal. Yakhchal, not
Your
ashghal.
poor mom. You never, that would be sacrilegious to put korma sabzi in the ashghal.
What was wrong with my korma sabzi that you put it in, you know, ashghal? It was very funny, you know, and we make those mistakes. But this is very interesting for me. Of course, we make mistakes. That's why it came to my mind. I mean, in language, we could make many mistakes. But when we are dancing, you know, could we make the same mistakes? Like, could people understand your accent in the dance? Like Persians coming from Iran, especially I'm talking about professional performers. When they come and see your dance, do they find accent in your dance? Just the same as language, or subtle mistakes that you might make mistake this for that. Do they ever tell you any of these? Do you get feedback like that from them?
I haven't yet. Maybe.
But do you find these mistakes from, like, for others, you know, that they don't have as much cultural background, or even what is that genetic background in being Persian, like from Maryam or from other performers who have discovered this culture and this dance? Do you see this kind of accent? Or,
you know, I have definitely seen dance that has been, you know, now on social media you see everything from everywhere, and I've definitely seen some styles that are labeled as Persian dance that I wouldn't necessarily characterize as Persian dance. Or or a style that I recently saw one, my duet partner sent it to me and it was labeled as bandari. I wouldn't ever look at it and consider it typical, bandari. So yes, I there is room for that. I think I definitely see that. As far as Iranians coming from Iran and critiquing my dance, I'm sure it's happening. Again, everything's on social media.
But they're so polite that you wouldn't say anything.
Luckily, no one has told me, at least, I don't know, nothing has come on my Instagram or my Facebook account yet, but are they having those thoughts? Maybe, I don't know.
And now that you said that, the social network have really created for more exposure for you, right? Opportunities for exposure. How do you see that? Like, are you excited? Do you get negative feedback, positive feedback? How does it affect your work when you put your...
For me, it's all been very positive. It's all actually been very exciting to, I was a bit late to jump on to Instagram, but once I did and I started sharing my work, hearing just the support of people in Iran, here, just everywhere, it's actually really helped me grow because it's very encouraging. And I think a lot of us in the dance community, we support each other, we encourage each other. And to be able to share my work as well as see other people's work, I see it as a real wonderful tool for growth. And like I said, there's collaborations that you can do, and I do collaborations with people in other countries. I do collaborations. My duet partner is now in Hawaii. We still make, we choreograph together, and so I definitely see it as a huge positive. The only negative I haven't had. Luckily, I haven't experienced any kind of negative comments or anybody. I haven't experienced anything negative yet. But one aspect that my husband actually has been concerned about is just the safety, the sort of the situation with dance and Iran and
as a woman, especially as a woman.
As a woman, and if whenever it is that we are ready to go back and take our kids, do I need to shut down my accounts? Do I, what?
How do they? I tell you, I don't see any issues in there. But if you ask me, it shouldn't be. I mean, any kind of decent person could say that. You're so natural, Shadan. You're so natural. I mean, when you go to your website, to your Instagram, you even see. I believe your image is you with your 2 kids, right? Am I right? Or I don't know where I have seen that.
Yes, I think they're definitely all over Instagram.
But you do that. But you put yourself out there as a mom, a proud mom of 2 little boys, right? And you're so natural. I mean, and you're nothing to hide. You say, this is me, I'm dancing. Some people want to, they believe, oh, I have to be like this young to dance or this. I mean, you're so proud of yourself. You're just putting yourself as natural out there. And I think people love you, and there shouldn't be any problem. I mean, we are respecting the laws of each country. Of course, if you go to Iran, if they say you have to cover your hair, you will, you know what I mean? And I'm here this way, I'm this, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm a dancer. And your academic background, I think, adds to the respect that people have for you. Am I correct on that?
Thank you. Yeah, it's very, very touching. Thank you. I mean, I think so. I would imagine.
And I mean, you talk, I see how honest, it's all pure personality of yours comes
I
out.
don't have much of a filter. I just kind of say whatever comes up. I'm a very open, honest person. That's just sort of who I am. And I am very, I definitely, my kids are all over my personal Instagram account. I don't, like you say, I don't really have anything to hide. I'm a very open, direct person. I dance because I enjoy it. I love it, and I love to share this ancient art with people. And my students really appreciate it. It's just a fun time, and my classes tend to be more women. Sometimes I have men in my classes, but they tend to be groups of women, and it's social, both on Zoom as well as in the studio, and I also teach in the park now.
Do we have men coming to this field as well? Because I always hear women. I mean, are men interested in Persian dance as well to come and take classes like this, or is mostly women?
I've had a few men come in over the years. I've definitely had men in my private lessons when they're, for example, a bride and a groom or want some dance lessons preparing for their wedding, for the social dance, like during their wedding reception. I've had some men come in and join my classes over the years, and definitely, certainly when I was in college and we did Bandari. Bandari is definitely men and women dancing
Of course,
together.
yeah, it's very more from the.
Yeah, and Casa Chok also, we had men and women. We each of us had a partner. It was a boy and a girl together, and we would flip around them. And they have a lot of.
Have you had an opportunity to work with any men performers to do choreography that way, or?
I haven't personally. I've worked only with women.
Right.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because Persian dance, again, going back to this, this high art, the stylized art form that is performed, it tends to be mainly women performing it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the teachers that I know are women. Well,
but maybe we should
Khordadian.
discover. I mean, this is a mission for me to go and find men dancers.
Yes, absolutely. And Khordadian is I'm sorry, I'm forgetting him. There are
yeah, Khordadian or Shambezade in what is that in Bandari. I mean, I have seen him doing very professional dance pieces, around the world,
That's true. And Anthony Shea is a man, Robert D. Warren, who.
There you go.
Yeah, so I guess
you have to help me to find them and go and interview them. Say we are in minority. I feel like a minority.
I definitely would say you're the minority. At least here in Northern California, in the Bay Area, the majority of the teachers and the dancers are women. So yeah, you should get it going.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking part of the culture that even we have not really discovered, maybe from Lorestan, from Kurdish. I mean, you could really see that they have men moves, that you have seen, but maybe we haven't. Or when it comes to Azerbaijan, because my parents are from Azerbaijan, I remember my uncles, dancing all the time, in different things. They were asking them to dance. As you said, they have some kind of macho moves, or even in Persian dance, we have in folk dance of Tehran.
Yeah, the folk dances
that they have this Baba Karam and stuff, which is all men work.
I was just doing Baba Karam last week with my students. They love it. And you're right. Azadi dance. I've seen videos of beautiful groups performing Azadi dance where you have lines of women and lines of men. I don't know. I haven't seen it performed here, at least in California. I personally haven't seen it performed, but I've seen videos of these professional dance companies that have just as many men as they have women as well. So they're definitely out there.
I remember my uncle teaching me how to do Azeri dance, and just like flamingo, as you were saying, the first thing he was saying me that you have to make your face so angry face, like very serious, and your hands should not have any kind of movements, should be tight and like you're going to war. It is so funny.
It's a serious thing, dance,
It's a dance. No, it is really part of the culture. As you said, it comes, maybe they did it before even going to hunting, I'm talking about thousands of years ago, the dance, hunt dance or rain dance or, asking for rain or, anyway, so it is really cool. When this is my own question for you. You are a professional dancer, academic dancer. And I have seen, I always remember Maz Jobrani saying that he's a professional stand-up comedian. When he goes to people's party, people say, do you have a joke? Could you tell us a joke? And he kind of doesn't know how to act with that, because he's like, how do you feel when you are in the parties and people ask you to dance? Do you feel like you have to just let it go and just be comfortable dancing, or you mix it with some kind of performance? You see it as a performance. It's a hard, separation here, right?
Yes, it's a completely different switch. And
because you feel like there's expectation there, right? You're going there to have some fun and say, oh, I thought she's a professional. How is she dancing like that? She's so loose.
Exactly. And, and as personally, I find it such a different, you wear different hats.
That's right.
Depending on where you are. I walk into my dance classes and I have prepared my playlist, I have my songs, I have my choreography, I know what I'm teaching. It's a very different hat that I wear, and I'm a much more confident. There haven't been many parties lately, but I'm thinking of one that I've been invited to, a Nowruz event, and I was thinking about how last time I was invited there was before the pandemic. I get so shy to dance, and as I'm trying to bring my husband with me so that I'll dance with him, but
I know.
with this whole group, and some of them are musicians. I love performing with live musicians. That's the
Mhm.
best. But we I know, sometimes I don't know what songs are going to play, but I'm in a very different mindset. Whereas in a party, I can get very shy and I'm not sure, and I kind of look for someone that I know because in social dancing it's a lot about that interaction with people, and that's exactly how I feel, that all eyes are on me. Oh, this is our dance teacher, we brought her to this party, come and start
Come
the
on.
party,
Oh
which
my God.
which I'll do in a different setting. If I'm hired to be at a wedding and I get the party started, okay, that's one thing, but if I'm in a social setting, it's a lot of pressure, and
I
sometimes
know.
get
I
a little
know.
nervous.
I assume you dance a lot with your kids, right? Whenever you want to just have fun
We do
or
have dance parties, yes.
yeah, my wife is the same. I mean, she's always dancing with the kids. I mean, that's her own world when she's with the kids, and it is really cool. Uh, uh, do you have anything else to add? Of course, as I said, we're going to have you over and over. I promise you, we're going to get so many comments from our viewers that they're going to have you in more programs. I would like to bring you with your fellow dancers that you could actually. I'm not an expert, so I tried my best to bring bring as much as I can from this interview, interesting things that our viewers enjoy. But later we're going to have you in different programs that you could have a better conversation with your fellow dancers and trainers. Do you have anything else to add for today's interview?
I just want to thank you, first of all. That all sounds wonderful. I'm looking forward to it, and I appreciate this time we've been able to discuss dance. To me, dance is so much a part of my life, and I take so much enjoyment out of it. And my husband plays classical Iranian piano. He's
Really? Oh,
one of his
wow.
teacher was Rohani in Iran when he
Really?
was growing up. Yeah, so when he sits down and plays, I love to dance to it. So, whether it's dancing at home or dancing in the classes, bringing these groups of women together and forming community where it's this really social, close group of women, I just see dance as such an opportunity for beauty and grace, and I think I was just talking with a friend last night about just the role of dance. Specifically, we were talking about in women's lives. I feel we both felt that life can be stressful, life can be busy, you kind of get on autopilot, you're doing all your daily life stuff, you're cooking, you're taking care of the kids, you're working, you have all these things going,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes life can get really stressful, and you can get down, and you can not feel good.
Absolutely.
um, and then you go and dance, and within, after an hour class, I suddenly feel myself again. I'm happy, I'm laughing, I feel connected to other people, to music, to the art form. Specifically Persian dance has a lot of, this graceful, delicate, feminine qualities to it that I think really helps women get back to their bodies
Mm-hmm.
in what can often feel like a very sort of male-dominated world. It is
Exactly.
this opportunity to come back to ourselves through the movements, through the music, through the community, and it just makes us so much happier. This is what my friend and I were discussing. We feel just it's like this instantaneous happiness booster that can just diffuse away stress, can make everything else so much better, and it completely changes our outlook. So to me, dance has really been a gift, and this is what I love to share with other people,
Mm.
to enjoy
And
it.
I'm gonna ask you later to provide links to to your website, to your
Oh, that's
Facebook, your Instagram, or even other references that you made today, so our viewers could follow. And I'm sure that they could come to your Instagram and contact you directly instead of going through Persian Awards, Javidi Parsi, or even me. They could just directly contact you. That's our goal, to spotlight you, to show your success and your beauty, to the world, and what you can do. And I'm hoping that everybody tries to connect with you the way that I'm really enjoying talking to you. And I just, when you said that, you said few things that was very interesting, because I have heard about some of your retreats that you, like you said, you were with Mariam retreat in Hawaii. What happens in this retreat? Because I hear so many good things, and then I'm so jealous. I want to pay, just come. What am I gonna do? Like, could somebody like me just to come to enjoy seeing you guys dancing and learning? You know, of course, my wife could take the class because she's a dancer. She knows how to do that. But I mean, is it an opportunity for the others to come to and be just part of this beautiful community, or no?
Absolutely. These retreats are open to everyone. I think, you know, sometimes people might feel a little bit intimidated that, oh, I'm not a dancer, I'm not ready for that intensive experience of going for 5 days and dancing. But
It's 5 days?
The one that we just did in Hawaii was 5 days.
And is in Hawaii, so it is a beautiful environment. So you're by the beach.
Yes, so you're in. We were on the Big Island. We were at a retreat
Tell me,
center.
like a day. What happens in a day when you wake up? How is your room? Your rooms are arranged. What you pay, it's all inclusive, right?
Yes. So, and each retreat. So I'm specifically thinking. I've been to multiple retreats of Miriam's. I've been to different retreats of different dancers. But I think so. There's her Italy retreat that was. We were sort of dancing all day. We were in this beautiful.
Which part of Italy?
So we were in Morlupo, which is sort of the countryside outside of Rome, about an hour drive outside of Rome.
Huh.
And that was an amazing experience. We did a lot of whirling, kind of the Sufi whirling with the white dresses.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful.
So do they tell you what kind of dresses you bring, or they give you the dresses there?
Yes, no. So for example, this most recent retreat in Hawaii, Miriam had a very specific packing list. So we had, you know, to bring our white dress and to bring a red dress for whirling, and then we had to bring a turquoise dress, and then of course, you know, this retreat specifically, we danced every morning. We had also evening sessions where we danced. We had some sacred circles. We had some rituals as well. We were there because we started the retreat on the night of Shab Aruz, which is, you know, the night that Maulana married the divine. And so we did a whole celebration and a ritual and ceremony around Shab Aruz to start. We had Alfredo came. He's a musician, and
so you have live musicians?
Yes. So Alfredo came and he played for us. We were whirling. We shared poetry. It was beautiful to start the retreat. And then on the final night, we ended with it was the winter solstice. It was Shab Yalda. So again, we were all sitting by the fire. I read Fala Hafez. We shared one of my other Iranian friends. Nika. She shared some poetry. Again, we had music. We were drumming. I was playing daf. We had a few of us playing daf. We were whirling. We did some
pomegranates. Were there any pomegranates, or what is that? Or
yes, yes, so absolutely. And we were telling everybody kind of what it's all about. One of the nights we had done guedra, which is a Moroccan style, and so we even introduced that into the evening. And Miriam's retreat, so we were dancing in the morning, we had dancing in the evenings. You're in a retreat center, so our rooms were right there in the center, you know, all around the courtyard. Then there was the dance studio. It was very much outside in the beautiful beauty of the Big Island, which is just so beautiful. We were right on the northern coast, so the ocean was right there in front of us. And then in the afternoons, we would go to the local beaches, and so we would all of us that were together, all these women are hanging out on the beach, having fun, boogie boarding.
And you didn't take family, right? It was just a time away from family.
This was my big vacation.
Get away time, you know. Just,
fortunately, I had the support of my husband and both grandparents, both sides' grandparents.
But I tell you, if I was him, I really definitely wanted to go with you. Otherwise, how would we get that opportunity to be in an environment like that? But of course, I understand that you really need a getaway. I mean, being a mom, being a wife, as you said, is just so much, you know, and such thing. It is your own thing. You say, let me just have 5 days on my own thing, because there is so much meditation needed too during this kind of retreats, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think there's something very special about being in these sacred circles of women, and you know, I would call them sacred circles of sisters, where you connect, and here you are in this very beautiful area. We're playing our drums, we're dancing, we're all sharing meals together. And there's a lot of beauty in that. There's a lot of strength and power and empowerment that comes when women gather like that.
Mhm.
And it is a very special opportunity that we don't, there isn't always the space and the time for that in our daily busy lives.
And you make friends for life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now I have these beautiful friendships.
That you could
that
continue after coming back, and you could talk about it for a whole, let's say, year or a few months until you go to the next retreat.
Exactly. Maybe we meet each other at the next retreat.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. No, I mean, even talking to the others, like as icebreaker, you go and see other people or you talk to the other people. What about food? They have good food in retreats like this?
Yeah, it all depends on where you are, and I don't remember the food at the Italy retreat very well, but this one, it was all the food that was provided at the retreat center. And,
Oh, wow.
I think...
Do they have chef coming and cooking for you? Because
Yes,
I
they
have seen in
had
some retreats.
a cook that was there, part of the
Really?
retreat center.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and, a lot of a few of the women there were vegan also, so they have to accommodate all these different dietary restrictions.
Yeah.
But, Miriam... she's been my beloved teacher for so many years, on and off, and we've performed together. She's such a dear friend, and she really does such a phenomenal job at creating this space where you're not just going there to dance, you're not just going there to be in the natural beauty on the beach.
Mhm.
She incorporates the drumming, the hand drum, she incorporates all the spirituality aspects, all the ritual aspects that, that's just who she is. That's the offering that's what she does. And I mean, I've always gone back to Miriam. Sometimes I have to take breaks because we don't live that very close, but she's always been a very special sister to me. And years will pass and then I'll go back and I'll reconnect with Nava and with Miriam. And she's just a wonderful person.
Then Nava is her group name, right?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. I've been at her website. I have heard all these stories from her other, I could call it students or trainees, right? And they all say the same thing. I really hope to have an opportunity to meet her one day. We are hoping that we could have actually a professional night for her and invite all her trainees, or as much as we can, not all. How could we bring all of them together? But I hope we could do that. At the end of each interview, I always ask an unrelated question. Are you ready for your unrelated question? And you could just guess. I mean, if you don't know the answer, just guess. But I have a feeling, because you're so smart, so I know you're such, I could see that you're a reader and you read a lot. Am I right?
I do enjoy reading, yes.
That's right. Yep. Okay, so pregnancy for elephant. Do you know how long it takes? Like how long they are pregnant for?
I have no idea.
Like, yes, like yours. How long was yours? Was it short or exactly the time that you were predicted?
No, mine were right on time. My first one was just over 40 weeks, and the second one was just a couple days short of 40 weeks. Yeah,
but around the same time that you expected. Yes. But it's almost around over 9 months, right?
Yes, about 9
months. But what about elephants? How long do you think their pregnancy is? Shorter than human, longer than human?
For some reason,
you're so big, right? I mean, how could they carry that
I'm thinking
weight
it's
for
got to
so
be
long?
Longer. I mean, elephants are such amazing and smart animals, and they're so intelligent and social. I would imagine it's longer than humans. So I would guess, I don't know, maybe a year or maybe longer. I'm not sure. I don't know.
It's almost 2 years. Is 18 to 22 months.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's long.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the lifespan of an elephant?
I don't know that. That's a good thing to look.
It's always interesting to see.
I didn't look at that.
Related to how long do they live?
When I first time heard 2 years, I said, that cannot be right. Let me go and check that before asking this question. So as soon as you type it in Google, it comes 18 to 22 months. But I should have checked. But what is interesting, I wanted to bring some of these references to our, to this part of the interview, but I thought I better not to, because you usually cannot trust some of the information on internet, right? But I saw, is that on some of those, you could go, it has websites that they have every animal, that how long their pregnancy time is. Some of them are so short Some of them are so long that you couldn't believe, I just, oh, I'm not going to do that. I will let viewers to go if they are interested to do the search. But it is really good question that for 2 years pregnancy, how long do they live? How many kids each elephant usually in their time span have, right?
Yes.
I mean, those are really interesting things to see. I wanted to thank you,
Oh,
Shadan.
absolutely.
I had such a good time talking to you. I really hope that I could have you as my friend. I could tell you that, what is that if you have opportunity, come over to North Carolina, be our guest. I would love to next time if I come to Bay Area, to at least see you, have some coffee and, and meet your husband, meet your family, your kids, and tell them how wonderful person they have in their life.
Oh,
and I'm so happy that I
Thank
got to know you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Javidi. The pleasure is all mine. It's so kind of you to say that. I would love to meet you if you are ever in the Bay Area. We'll definitely connect and have you over for some khoresh.
And I'm going to try to schedule you for more meetings. As I said, I'm sure after this, our viewers, are going to be asking more and more about you. And I hope that you could accept our invitation for our next events.
Absolutely. The pleasure would be all mine. I would love to. And, like you said, if anyone is interested in dancing, whether it's online, in person, in the studio, in the park, my website is persiandancing.com. My Instagram.
Wow, what a good website you have. How did you get that URL?
Yeah, I got lucky.
You're kidding? Persiandancing.com is yours?
Yep.
That's so cool. Do not lose it.
Yeah, I got lucky with that one.
Yeah.
And then
I have my last name .com, like Javidi.com is mine. And I pay for 10 years, 15 years that nobody could take it from me.
Yeah, I guess I would imagine you've got some competition there with your last name.
Yeah, I know all the cousins, all the brothers, everybody else has the last name. I'm sure they are all hating me that, oh my God, he's paid forever. We could never have that name. But that Persian dancing is great. So what is your Instagram, you said?
My Instagram is Persian Dancing.
Same,
Persian Dancing, yeah.
Wow, so you have got it, the brand all the way.
I guess
really
so.
Twitter? Are you on Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Persian Dancing. And then I have a YouTube link, which is linked on my website. So it's all linked there. I don't know if I should share my personal Instagram. And
you don't have to. You don't have to. I mean, I would try to keep that for friends.
Yes,
of course, people could come and become friends. You know what I mean later.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's better to keep the professional one separate from. On my personal Instagram or Facebook, I just put the picture of my family, of my cats. But when it comes to professional, you want to do differently, do the performance.
Right, I've always kept them separate. And I think, that's one lovely thing about dance is that organically you make a lot of friends and you form those personal connections as well.
Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Javidi. Take care.
And I want to thank our viewers for being with us again with another event of Persian Awards, Jawaiz Parsi, and we see you in next time. Thank you.